Hello, welcome back to Silverbirch Sunday School. Hopefully, this is one of the last few times that we're online again. It would be really great if we can meet back in person in church, wouldn't it? My name's Luke, just in case you've forgotten, or just in case you don't recognise me with really long hair compared to this time last year. I spent a lot of time over this last year watching TV. I wonder if you have as well. There's lots of things to watch. We have Netflix, we've got Disney Plus, we've got Amazon, we've got all these things that we watch TV on, as well as the normal TV. And I wonder if you've been spending a lot of time doing that. I have, and I've been watching a few different shows. I really like Disney Plus, and I've got to watch some of the new shows on there, like WandaVision, or The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or even Star Wars The Clone Wars. Some really great TV shows are out there these days. But one that I really love is Doctor Who. Now, none of you might have seen Doctor Who. You might be a little bit too young to have seen it, but I really love it. It's about this man, kind of, who can time travel in the TARDIS, a big blue box where he can travel around all of space and all of time. He gets to go on loads of amazing adventures to different planets and different times. You can go back in time to see how people used to live, or you can go forward in time and see all of the hover cars and things like that. It's a pretty cool show and I love it. But there's something special about the Doctor, the main character. See, he's known as a Time Lord. And whenever the Time Lords look like they're going to die, instead of dying, they do something called regenerating. And what happens here is that all of this energy comes within them and they kind of explode, but they change. The energy explodes out of them and their face and their body and their hands change. But the person is still the same person. They still have the same mind and brain in their head. They still have the same personality. They still have the same memories. They're still the same person. But they've been transformed to look completely different. And when I watch Doctor Who, sometimes I'm reminded about a story from the Bible. A story that we find in the book of Acts about a man named Saul. Saul was a very interesting man, and he's transformed in a special way. We're going to watch a little video to show us all about that now.
This is Saul. Saul was a Pharisee who hated the followers of Jesus so much that he would hunt them down to be brought to trial in Jerusalem. And he would even seek to murder them. Saul was uttering threats with every breath, and he was eager to kill the Lord's followers. So he went to the high priest. He asked him to write a letter to the Jews in Damascus that would allow him to arrest any Christians he found there. He wanted to bring them, both men and women, back to Jerusalem in chains. Now Saul went on his way. And as he came near Damascus, a light from heaven flashed around him, and he heard a voice that said, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" Saul cried out, "Who are you, Lord?" And the voice said, "I am Jesus. Rise and go into the city, and you will be told what to do." So Saul got up and he opened his eyes, but he couldn't see anything. So the men who were with Saul led him into the city. After 3 days, a man named Ananias came to Saul. He put his hands on Saul, and immediately Saul could see again. And with that, Saul became a follower of Jesus. He became the very thing he had tried to hunt. And he immediately began telling people that Jesus is the Son of God, and he taught them about the mercy of God that he had received. And all who heard him were amazed. He then went by a new name, Paul. as he began preaching not just to the Jewish people, but to everyone. Despite many difficulties like being imprisoned, shipwrecked, and narrowly escaping death multiple times, Paul continued to preach about Jesus. Paul said that he would do everything he could to save people and help them know God. And that's just what he did in order to reach people who would otherwise be unreached. And many came to know Jesus because of what Paul said. Paul taught many in his day through his letters, but even more have come to learn more about Jesus through the letters of Paul that can be read even to this day.
So let's recap. What an incredible story. We meet a man called Saul, who was a religious man. He was one of the really powerful people at the time. And this happened after Jesus had lived on earth, after he died and rose again, and then he went back up to heaven. Saul lived in those times. And Saul still followed all the rules. He loved to follow rules. That was the one thing he's really, really good at. And there were people around who knew about Jesus, who trusted in Jesus and followed him, the Christians. And Saul didn't really like them. Saul thought that they weren't obeying the rules properly. Saul thought they were being silly by not obeying the rules and trying to do their own thing. He didn't realize just who Jesus was. And so he arrested them, he took them all away, he tried to put them all in prison, and even tried to kill some of them. He didn't seem like a very nice man, despite the fact that he thought he was doing the right thing. And then we meet the incredible story where Saul is walking on the way to Damascus one day, and suddenly a really bright light comes. A really bright light. In here sometimes it gets really bright when the sun shines in through the window, but it was even brighter than that. So bright, in fact, that Saul couldn't see anymore. He was blinded. And Jesus spoke to him from heaven. Said, "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you hurting me?" Saul was so confused, but Jesus told him to go to a certain place in Damascus so that a guy could heal him. He went to find this man, and this man healed him and opened his eyes, changing him. He wasn't blind anymore. And not only was he not blind anymore, but he was a Christian now. He believed in Jesus. Wow, what a crazy story. You see, what we learn from this story is that when we trust in Jesus, our life is transformed. Our life is changed completely. It's nothing like it was before. Because before we trust in Jesus, we're sinful. We have bad things in our heart. We do bad things. We say bad things. We do lots of mistakes in the eyes of God. But when we trust in Jesus, he forgives us for all of that. He forgives us for everything. And now we still make mistakes. We still do bad things sometimes. But whenever we trust in Jesus and live Jesus' way, we are transformed and we're forgiven for all the bad things we do. Now that doesn't mean that we should keep on doing bad things. We should try our best not to do bad things because we're thankful for what Jesus has done. I don't know about you, but I really love Lego. I've got a set here. This isn't actually my set though, this is Connor's. Here it is, a lovely Star Wars Lego set. It's got a lovely building, some lovely characters in it from Star Wars that you can build and recreate. And I love Lego because you get to rebuild maybe things from movies that you love, or you get to build your own creations. But what's so amazing about Lego is that you start off with a small little brick, maybe just one piece of this building. You start off with something so small. And by the time you're finished with building, it's been transformed into an amazing building or car or ship or anything. And that reminds me of God. It reminds me of me. Because just like a small little Lego brick, when you trust in Jesus, he will use you and transform you into a massive building. Well, hopefully not a massive building, but he will transform you to be like him. He transforms you to be forgiven and transforms you to live a life following God's way. Jesus is really, really great and transforms us, just like a piece of Lego being transformed to be massive. So what do we have to do now? Well, every time you're building Lego, I want you to think about how God is transforming you when you trust in him. Now you have to go out and just like Paul did. So he was Saul and he became Paul. And instead of killing Christians, he tried to tell everybody about Christianity and tried to tell everybody about Jesus and tried to tell everybody that they can be transformed too. And that's what we need to do. We should go out and tell everybody out there that we can be transformed by Jesus. What an amazing story. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope that you think about it every time you play with Lego. Or maybe every time you watch Doctor Who. Or maybe every time you see Transformers, because it's the same name. Think about how God can transform us when we trust in Jesus. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Hopefully I'll see you all really soon. Have a lovely Sunday. Bye.